You might have a few opportunities in your career to write a policy brief. Here are a few examples of when you might find yourself writing a policy brief. For example, you might have been asked to write one by a policymaker. If you have any sort of political connections or community connections, if you're a researcher studying something that is important to the community, you might find yourself an aide or a policymaker reaching out to you, or a community leader reaching out to you, or an activist leader reaching out to you saying, hey, we need some help. We have identified in our own political system or community some issues that are affecting us. We don't know what steps we should take to change this or help it. You seem like a smart person that knows what they're talking about. Could you help us? For example, you might be, say, an epidemiologist or a virologist, and there's a major pandemic appearing on the scene or an outbreak of a deadly disease somewhere in the world. Or you might be an economist and there is some sort of financial crisis or market crash. Or you could be like an environmentalist or someone who's focused on biology of a particular species. And there is a development happening within a country or within a region of the world, or a climate scientist, and you're interested in the effects of climate change on, say, coastal cities or coastal patterns or weather patterns or drought, or there's a massive wildfire. Like the world is constantly having problems, and your research, your expertise might lend a very powerful voice to help us try to mitigate or even solve those problems. So you might be operating in your laboratory or in your hallways, doing your analysis, doing your surveys, doing your studies, doing your examinations, and you discover something. You uncover something. You see something powerful happening in your work. And yes, you write a journal article, you present it to your peers, you peer review it, you vet it, you make sure the research and methodology is sound. But you also have an opportunity here with a policy brief to transform that research into immediate policy as quickly as possible. Remember, policy briefs are a vehicle for just moving things forward, of translating research into a policy in as effective way as possible. So if you find in the course of your own research that something has immediate real world benefits, like I said, I'm an astrophysicist. That's probably not going to happen over the course of my career. You never know. But in your field, in your career, in your endeavors, this might just be a real thing. And you want to act on it. You want to move on it. You want to make this happen. So writing a policy brief in parallel with a journal article or a conference proceedings is a very smart move. You can make a difference. By writing a policy brief, you are making a difference. You are doing something new in the world. You are making the world a better place. This is putting your own research into action. But beside that, it also serves as a very handy business card for important stakeholders. A policy brief, as we'll see, is going to be a relatively short document and can be made as short as a brochure or a pamphlet. And this is something that you can share digitally, that you can print out, hand out at conferences, something for people to hold on to so that they recognize you, your face, your name, your work, and what your work means. That good luck compressing all of that onto an actual business card. But this document, a policy brief, because the policy brief is going to be passed around, it's going to be shared. You send it to one aide, they're going to share it with a few people in their office. They're going to share it with other aides in other legislative offices. They're going to share it with other branches of the government. They might share it with certain organizations or executive committees or branches or organizations or commissions, administrations, all sorts of things. That document is going to get passed around. That document has your name on it. That document has a summary of your work or the work of your field or your colleagues. And that document has your recommendation on it. So we have another module on a completely unrelated thing on how to write an academic book review. And that serves a very similar purpose where it's a publication with your name on it with a recommendation where you are planting a stake in the ground and saying, I think we should do this. Which is a very, very scary thing to do sometimes, especially for a young researcher. Get used to it because people are going to be asking your opinion. You are an expert. You do know what you're talking about. You are unparalleled. Eyes will turn to you in a time of need to help give answers. And so you should get comfortable with giving answers and giving recommendations based on your research. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get. In our Fundamentals of the Publication Writing module, we talk about something called imposter syndrome, which can play a role here, where it's scary to put your name on something, especially when that something carries with it a recommendation, especially when that something carries with it implications and policy recommendations for the real world. Like, if people put your recommendations into practice, the world will change. That is a very scary thing to do. One of the many reasons I prefer astrophysics. But for you in your field, be prepared for this. Be prepared that you will be asked these questions, that eyes will turn to you, that you may uncover something in your research that has real world consequences. And it is your duty as a scientist. Remember, your science, your research is most likely publicly funded. So if you're doing something, if you find something that has real world consequences, it is your ethical duty, at least I believe this, it is your ethical duty to report that to the public and to try to affect change. Right there, write your policy brief. And this will not hurt your career. Policy briefs will get circulated. Your name will get circulated. More and more people will reach out to you. More and more people will have questions and clarifications. More and more people will want more policy briefs on other issues that are related. This is a way of networking. This is a way of building your own career. And that's okay. That's okay. You are affecting real world positive change. You're also making a name for yourself. These two can go hand in hand, and it's just fine.